Hello everybody, welcome to another marvelous ramble. It's been a while, but we were submerged in snow less than a couple weeks ago, so that's why this video is a bit delayed. So I apologize for that, but that's not why you're here. You're here to listen to me talk about why I was wrong about Hades / roguelikes. Well, I feel like with any kind of amazing story, you need an origin. Ben, Iggy, why did you not try roguelikes for the longest time? Why did you dismiss an entire genre of games just because of one experience you've had? Why? Why did you miss Dead Cells, which I own, by the way? And the answer to that is that the roguelikes I played were not the right ones for me. And it was stupid of me to dismiss an entire genre based on one experience. And what was that experience? It was the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth, after something plus. Now, and the only reason I bought this game was, number one, it was critically acclaimed. A lot of people I knew who fought on YouTube played it and loved it, and I thought it looked interesting as well. Even though I knew about the whole starting over from the beginning with nothing, anything kind of turned me off a bit, but I wanted to give it a shot. Into the year 2017, where the Nintendo Switch is out. At the time, there weren't a lot of games for it. All I had was Breath of the Wild and I Am Setsuna. Fine choices, of course. But I wanted, obviously, you want more games for your new system, and I had pre-ordered the Binding of Isaac Afterbirth for Switch, the physical edition, because I still like having cartridges. And I played it for about, I want to say, at least 5 hours. I tried it. And every single time I died in that game, I never got very far in the game. And it was always super frustrating to die in that game to sometimes seemingly unfair stuff, and then having something really good, a buff or a weapon come your way, all to be ultimately ripped apart from your hands because you made one small mistake. And it just never sat with me. Like, the reason why I don't, and that's sort of like kind of like led to a deluge of me just shunning roguelikes because, I like having my character progression. I don't feel like I'm gaining anything from playing this. And that's what I honestly felt for the longest time. And especially was true in Binding of Isaac, because you literally start with nothing over. So it led me to ignore 20XX. It led me to ignore Dead Cells and some other games. But those are the big ones. Enter the Gungeon. It just, anytime I saw the roguelike, or Rogue Legacy, that's another one. Anytime I saw it, was just like instant no, because I just kept getting PTSD flashbacks to the Binding of Isaac, because I just assumed all roguelikes were the same, where like no matter what, you start with nothing, and it just didn't appeal to me. It was the furthest thing that I wanted in a video game. I'm from the point where of gaming where I like having, I don't like things being based around random generated stuff. I like having sort of a linear path or open path that I can go through my adventure, and I feel stronger, and then I get to know the world around me. So fast forward to December 2018. I think it's 2018. I'm pretty sure it's 2018. At the Game Awards. I'm pretty sure it was the Game Awards too. I should have done research to this, but let's face it, you're not here for the research. Super Giant Games, for from fame, I know them from Bastion and Transistor, 2 excellent games, announced their latest game, Hades, and then they said the word that I didn't want to hear: roguelike. And I marveled at the time of the art style, like, well, this game looks interesting, and the fact that it was in early access kind of turned me off in the game. I was like, I might have even said, like, on the Charged Shot Gamescast, like, I don't want to play this game. It's a roguelike. I did, and I largely ignored the early access development. At least I don't think there was a lot of coverage on the game anyways, or at least within my circle. Fast forward to now, 2020, the game officially comes out. It's getting huge praises, right? All across the internet. My friends are playing it. It's seemingly a game of the year contender for a lot of people. And so finally in that December, I buy Hades because it was on sale and I had, some Switch money thanks to Christmas and stuff like that. And I got a work bonus, so I was able to get an eShop card. I bought a couple of games and Hades was the number one thing. And I'm here to tell you, I was wrong about this game, and I was wrong about the roguelike genre. I was wrong for basically shunning away a specific genre of games because I had one terrible experience. So now the question leads to what made Hades appealable. Obviously, you start with you pretty much do start with almost nothing. I'll get into that later. What I liked about Hades is in terms of it's how it controls. Hades just feels so. It has that kinetic energy that I like in my games. And when I play a certain type of game, I like to feel fast. I like to feel that I'm dealing damage a certain way, or I like movement. In other words, and playing as Hades offered me that moment with the dash or certain weapons did certain things. It made me feel cool. When I play video games for the most part, I want to feel cool. I want to feel like I'm doing cool shit. And from the get-go, I was pretty much instantly hooked in the loop of Hades. It just something about clearing a mob full of enemies and clinging to life as you struggle to get to the next room is something that's way more addicting than you would think, right? You would think, because technically in this game, you're doing the same thing over and over again. You go into a room, you clear it out, and you move on to the next one. And you think that's it. And if you're just watching gameplay footage of it, that's all you see. Well, that's where you're missing. Hades has a great game loop. So I love the fact that they tie it. It's all tied into Greek mythology, so that's another sort of bonus for me because I love Greek mythology. So being able to see you're talking to Zeus, Poseidon, Aphrodite, God, the god of wine whose name escapes me all of a sudden, Dionysus, Hermes, Athena, to see all these gods, and they basically bless you with their abilities, and they offer different things each time. That was kind of cool because it kind of felt like Christmas to me. Like, ooh, what am I gonna get now? Or am I gonna get the same cool thing that I got last time to make my run even better? And that just felt enticing. So like, oh. And then I started thinking, okay, well, what if I got Athena's shield, but then now I can get Hades or Ares rather. I can get his thing where my special throws out a dagger, a swirling dagger or something like that. That was also cool. It's just that prospect of getting different abilities every single time, but they all felt cool, or getting a different debuff or buff was also really cool. So kudos to Supergiant Games for immediately. That's what I think is great about this game, is that immediately you know what you're getting into, you know what you're doing. There's no tit-tatting around it. And what I'll say to people who may sort of doubt kind of like the roguelike genre, I'm like, but I don't want to die. I don't like dying starting over. The point of this game is to die. The point of the game is to die. And that leads me into the real reason of why I kept playing Hades. As much as I love the gameplay loop for Hades, it's an amazing gameplay loop, especially when all sorts of craziness is going on, or you have to tackle a boss. The real reason I couldn't put Hades down is its narrative. See, another problem I have with roguelikes, and that kind of made me turn off from the genre for the most part, is I didn't like that there was not really a story that I could grab onto. And this is obviously a personal preference thing, but when I play games, not all the time, like, I'm not going to go to Super Mario World for, like, a deep story, that just has good platforming. But if I'm going to be spending an extended period of time, I largely want to become invested in the world that I'm in and interested in the world that I'm in. Hades, to me, because I've since then played Enter the Gungeon, Binding of Isaac, and stuff like that. Hades, to me, does the best job of blending both its action elements with its story elements, where the gameplay loop is amazing, but also the narrative makes you want to continue more. And normally, and I can probably say this, I never got salty from dying in this game. I never got mad. I went like, oh shit, I died, right? That's it. It never got to the point of, oh, fuck this game. It never got to that point. Why? I'll tell you why. Because it's tied, death is tied into the narrative. That's what's cool about it. Each and every time you die as Hades, you come back to the Hall of Hades, and you learn something new. There's a new conversation, or you gain something to open up a new conversation, and you'll see certain characters talk a certain way to each other, and it's just like you learn revelations through certain ways, and you only get that by dying. So yeah, could you clear this game on your first try without getting power-ups? I'm sure it's possible, but that's not the point. And I think that's what really hooked me. That's what made me invasive, because eventually the first boss you meet is Megara. She's a fury. She has a whip, and just as you fight her more, you learn that her and the main character Zagreus have a very intimate relationship, but you only know that by talking to her after dying repeatedly. You, in a way, it's odd, because technically you are punished by dying because you didn't achieve your goal, but you're rewarded because now you have story content to live through. And if you're not into that, you know, that's a personal thing. But that's what made me love it. That's what made me coming back, or to be able to talk to Achilles again, or even pet Cerberus. Who doesn't want to pet that level 3-headed bastard? Or to have Hades himself scold you every single time you come back, and or mock you for your attempt of escape. It's like, the writing is so amazing. The voice acting is so well done. It's, God, I was in the world. I was Zagreus. I was trying to escape from Hades. I knew these people. These were my lovers. These were my friends. These were my enemies trying to stop me. They put me into the world. I didn't think it was possible for a roguelike to combine the elements of a story into its gameplay. It's genius. And I'll go so far as to say that, to me, this is the golden standard for me to love a roguelike. Now, do I think all roguelikes should have a story? I don't necessarily think so. And even then, they may not meet the expectations that Hades has set forth. But I do think there's outside of an amazing gameplay loop, I feel like you have to give players something else to come back for. So, in addition to the amazing story, unlike other roguelikes, Hades doesn't just leave you out to dry. Sure, the buffs and power-ups you get throughout the course of your journey from Tartarus to the outside the gates of Hades, that's all different depending on which god you get. But you do get stronger because of there's a special wall that you can get access to thanks to your mother Nyx. And while it isn't traditional stuff like bigger HP or stuff, bigger health points, it's small stuff like you do more back damage, or you get a thing that will revive you from death. That's my favorite part. Death Defiance is the best thing about this game, because it's not just one and done. You have a chance. If you die, you use a Death Defiance, you can still keep going. And the best part is you can level it up to have up to 3. That to me was like, oh my god, it doesn't break the game, because you could still be reckless and just lose them all. Trust me, having died in Elysium multiple times to those fucking to those fucking gladiators, God. Again, not salty, just like fresh, but just like darn it, you know, it does so much. It gives the player so much to upgrade themselves without going traditional of like upping like attack or basic defense like that. The best part is you can eventually customize it to where it does a different variation of that special set. So for instance, your cast initially can just shoot one thing, but then you can either choose to have up to 3, so you can shoot 3 at a time, or you can have one that's on a timer, so you'll only have one, but you just have to wait a certain time and you get it back, and then you can do it again. Stuff like that. That's another thing I like this game. That's another thing I like about this game is you're not stuck to one play style. So similar to the Binding of Isaac, stuff like that, you were stuck with whatever weapon you got in the old world. Here, you choose your weapon, whether it's the sword, a spear, a shield, a gun, or a pair of like fists, the fists of Tartarus. I don't remember what they're called, which was the one. Those are the weapons that I beat the game on. It allows the game is still flexible enough to give you the freedom to play how you want to play. Do you want to play long range? You play the bow. Do you want to be up and personal? Use the Fist of Tartarus. Do you want to play kind of a long range, but you can go up in their face? Use the spear. That to me is the flexibility, creativity, the freedom it gives the player to choose from. And of course that's even true to when you get the god. So you're allowed to choose which buff do you want. You say you get Zeus. Do you want him to be able to give you your basic attack, it does lightning damage? Or do you want your dash to have a lightning bolt struck down? Or the best one, do you want Zeus, do you want to call Zeus where he'll just throw lightning on the screen? The choices are endless. And in that sense, it makes the gameplay loop fun, because then you can then eventually, and this is what happened to me, eventually you start experimenting. Because you can get comfortable in a game like this. You can get very comfortable, like, okay, I want this and this and this. And some things, number one, if you get the Hammer of Daedalus, get the armor that breaks that hits 200% harder. Always get that. But sometimes you want to do a run and it's like, I want to try something different. I want to do something. Let's get this instead of this. Let's see how this works. And that's all in the experimentation. Because what do you lose? You don't lose anything. You just die and you have to start over. That's it. That's all. And while that may seem like a big deal, the game eventually you're gonna start clearing out rooms like there's no tomorrow. Eventually you're gonna beat the game in 20 minutes. So what used to take you an hour to do now takes you 20 minutes. And now all it takes, eventually, this happened to me, eventually Hades becomes that game of just one more run. Just one more run. That's just, okay, I know it's 2 a.m, just one more run. Oh my god, it's such an addicting loop with its buffs, its story, and its gameplay. It's insane. It's insane. So, does this mean I'm going to be open to all roguelikes and I'm going to play all of them? Not necessarily. I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to like champion every single roguelike. But what I will say is this has opened a new door for me. And so instead of wincing when I say roguelike, I'll look at the art style, I'll look at the presentation, I'll look at what the developers are doing and be like, I could get into that. Let's try it, And I think that's the coolest part. I think Hades busted. I think they hit the formula right. And like I said earlier, this is the golden blueprint. If you want me to like a Hades, a roguelike game. Not necessarily that every developer has to follow the structure, but it's a very good structure. It's a very good one. So lesson learned, kids. Don't judge a genre by its book cover, or by what you've heard, or by misconceptions you may have. Sometimes you just have to play a game and experience the level of awesomeness to understand what makes it so compelling. If you haven't played Hades by this point, I strongly urge that you do. Even if you don't like roguelikes. And I'll tell you why, outside of the amazing gameplay loop. the final fight with your father, because of course it's called Hades and you're trying to escape Hades, so of course you fight your father. I haven't felt that tense in a boss fight in so long, where I'm like sweating and trying to dodge every single thing and hoping, just hoping. There were so many times I came close to beating Hades that I didn't, and there was a point where I didn't know I was going to beat this game. And once I did that, I was content. I was like, I'll go do a run. Whatever happens, happens. I played the game without fear of death. It didn't matter anymore. Similar to Zagreus, he didn't care. And you know what? On that run, I beat Hades, and I had to me it felt like I had won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania in front of 10,000 people or like 80,000 people. It felt like I had won the big one. It was so satisfying. Is Hades challenging? Yes. Is it demanding? Yes. Is it worth your time and effort? Hell yes. If you're the kind of person that seeks that reward, that seeks a challenge, that seeks victory, where it actually feels good to win, Hades is your game. And you're doing yourself a disservice by not playing it for misconceptions of a genre because you may or may not have had a bad time with another game. Do yourself a favor, play this game. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this video. I don't know what else to say to make you play this game. I'm pretty sure most people listening to this have played this game, but in case you aren't, let me know in the comments if you've played Hades, what you think, and what's your favorite aspect. And let me know in the comments if you plan on buying Hades. Thank you all for watching. This is a warm love letter to this game. One of my games of the year from last year. Thank you all for watching. Y'all have a good night. And remember, stay marvelous. Have a good night, everybody.